A massive alien armada, led by the heir to an empire, surrounds Earth, poised to strike. As they prepare for the final invasion, they are met with an unexpected silence, one that signals an impending shift in the balance of power. Earth's response, however, will come as a terrifying surprise. The alien armada loomed above Earth, stretching across the sky like a storm ready to break. The ships were massive, dark, and imposing, their sheer size filling the void of space as they gathered above the planet. Commander Darian, heir to the Empire of Thalka, stood on the bridge of the flagship, his eyes fixed on the viewports, watching Earth below. His fleet had surrounded the planet, and his fingers were twitching with the anticipation of what was to come. For years, the Thalka Empire had waged war on countless worlds, conquering them with ruthless efficiency. The galaxy had bowed to their might, and Earth, with its primitive technology and insignificant defenses, was no exception. Darian had no doubt in his mind that this would be a short, one-sided victory. Earth had no allies, no formidable fleet, nothing but its pathetic little defense systems that would crumble under the might of his forces. "They've sent no response," Darian's second-in-command, Admiral Vex, remarked, his voice dripping with disdain. "The humans are trembling in fear, unable to comprehend the fate that awaits them." Darian nodded, but his gaze never wavered. "It doesn't matter. We strike now, and this pathetic little planet will fall under our control. Once Earth is ours, we will command the galaxy. The humans will be nothing more than a footnote in history." The officers around him exchanged smug glances, their confidence unwavering. The fleet, as vast as it was, had been deployed to ensure a swift victory. They had surrounded Earth completely, blocking all escape routes, preventing any attempt at resistance. Earth had no chance of surviving the invasion. "Prepare to fire," Darian ordered, his voice cold and commanding. "Let the galaxy see the strength of the Thalka Empire." As the weapon systems powered up, a tense silence filled the bridge. Darian's hand hovered over the controls. But before he could give the final command, a soft, eerie hum began to echo throughout the ship. His brow furrowed. "What is that sound?" Darian demanded, his voice sharp. The sensors officer scrambled to his console, his eyes widening in confusion. "Sir, it's coming from Earth's surface. It's a signal, but we can't identify it. The readings are unlike anything we've encountered." A deep, unsettling silence settled over the bridge. Darian's eyes narrowed. The humans had sent no message, no desperate plea for mercy, yet there was something in the air, something palpable that felt different. "Ignore it," Darian snapped. "It's nothing. Fire the weapons now." But before the order could be executed, another hum began, this one far louder, more intense. It was a pulse, a wave of energy emanating from Earth. The alien fleet's weapons suddenly faltered, their energy readings spiking uncontrollably. The ship shook, and alarms began to blare as the systems began to overload. "What is happening?" Darian shouted, his voice filled with disbelief. The ship's AI, which had once been impeccable, began to malfunction, its voice distorted. "Energy readings are overwhelming. Systems cannot compensate." Darian's heart raced. What is this? What are they doing? His mind reeled as he watched the alien fleet's once perfect coordination fall apart. The ships that had been so confident moments ago were now drifting, their systems failing, their weapons going cold. Another pulse shot out from Earth's surface, and this time it wasn't just a disruption, it was a strike. The flagship's shields flared up, but the force of the blast tore through them like paper. The flagship's engines sputtered, and Darian felt a jolt of panic grip him as the ship began to drift, its power completely drained. "Shields failing. Weapons offline," the tactical officer cried, his voice tinged with panic. "We're losing control of the ship." "What is happening?" Darian demanded again, his voice now frantic. Who has the power to do this?" The comms. Officer, shaking with fear, turned to Darien. "Sir, it's Earth. Their technology. It's beyond anything we've ever encountered. They've turned our weapons against us. The alien armada, once so powerful, now appeared vulnerable. Earth, the very planet they had once dismissed, was striking back with a force they couldn't comprehend. The humans had weapons, yes, but it wasn't the kind of firepower the aliens were accustomed to. It was something more primal, more intelligent. It was an attack on the very fabric of their technology. What are they doing?" Darien repeated, his voice now filled with dread. As if in response, Earth's fleet revealed itself, massive and advanced, emerging from the shadows of the atmosphere. The human ships, sleek and unassuming, moved into position, their weapons now aimed directly at the invaders. The entire alien fleet, once so sure of its superiority, now found itself surrounded. Darien's eyes widened as the reality of their situation set in. Earth wasn't just defending itself. They had been waiting for the moment to strike, and they had done so with precision, with a force that had crippled the alien armada in a matter of minutes. A cold realization gripped Darien's heart. They were surrounded. There was no escape. Earth had not only responded, they had redefined the rules of warfare. And that was before Earth even responded. Darien muttered under his breath. The words hung in the air like a death sentence, as the alien fleet, once so powerful, was now at the mercy of humanity's quiet fury. The stars, once witnesses to countless victories, now watched in stunned silence as the invaders' arrogance crumbled piece by piece. The galaxy, it seemed, had just learned a hard truth. Earth was no longer a planet to be overlooked. It was the future. And for the alien armada, that future was one they would never see. The alien armada stretched across the expanse of space, a massive wall of power. Commander Darien stood at the helm of the flagship, his hands steady on the console as his fleet lined up above Earth, blocking any potential escape routes. The sheer size of the Armada cast a long shadow over the tiny planet below. Earth, once considered inconsequential, now seemed ripe for the taking. "This will be quick," Darien murmured under his breath, barely needing to glance at the view of the planet below. "They have no chance." His voice echoed through the command deck, the officers around him nodding in agreement. They had seen countless worlds fall before the might of the Thalka Empire, and Earth would be no different. The humans had no significant defenses, no fleet to speak of, and Darien knew that their resources would crumble the moment his ships engaged. "We have confirmed no active defense systems, sir," the communications officer reported. "They've tried to hide their fleet, but we've detected no resistance." Darien smiled to himself, feeling the surge of victory already. "Then we begin." With a nod, he gave the order to fire. The alien fleet's weapons powered up, energy crackling and humming through their massive cannons. A brilliant beam of light shot from the flagship's weapons, streaking toward Earth with overwhelming speed and force. The first blast should have obliterated any trace of human resistance, tearing through their cities and military installations. But to the shock of every officer on the bridge, the beam faltered. "What's happening?" Darien demanded, confusion creeping into his voice as he stared at the view screen. The energy beam, instead of ripping through Earth's atmosphere, warped and dissipated, curving off course like an invisible hand had swatted it aside. The communications officer scrambled at his console. "Sir, the beam, it's been redirected. I don't know how." "Impossible," Darien spat. "We've verified their technology. They couldn't possibly." Before he could finish, another pulse of energy surged from Earth's surface. This time without warning. The blast struck one of the alien ships closest to the planet, and in an instant it exploded. The blast shattered the ship's shield, then ruptured its hull with brutal efficiency. The shockwave rippled outward, sending smaller ships into disarray. "What in the stars is happening?" Zethar, one of Darian's top officers, shouted, his face pale as the damage reports flooded in. We've been hit, directly. Shields are failing. Power systems are down. The tactical officer's voice wavered with panic as the alien ship rocked violently. Darian's heart raced. Get the fleet in formation. Return fire. We need to reassert control now. But as he barked the orders, another blast surged from Earth's surface. This time, the pulse seemed to flow like a wave, concentrating on several ships at once, causing them to lose their power entirely. It was a devastating, crippling attack. Their weapons went cold, their shields failed, and one by one, the ships that had once seemed invincible were disabled and left floating in space, helpless and powerless. "How is this possible?" Darian whispered, his hands trembling as he tried to regain control of his flagship. The systems that had always been flawless were now malfunctioning, flickering, and shutting down. The once mighty Armada was falling apart, and the humans had barely fired a shot. "We've underestimated them," Zethar said, his voice unsteady. "Their technology, it's not like anything we've ever encountered. It's too efficient." Another pulse surged from Earth's surface, and Darian's ship groaned in protest. The flagship's hull creaked as if the entire vessel was being squeezed in a vice. Sparks flew from the control panel, and the lights dimmed briefly before returning. "Get the engines running," Darian barked, his voice sharp with panic. "We can't stay here. We need to retreat, regroup, and reassess." But it was clear now, Earth's silent defense system wasn't just another layer of weaponry. It was a force of nature, controlled, deliberate, and devastating. They hadn't simply retaliated. They had waited, observed, and then dismantled the alien armada with an efficiency that no one could have predicted. "Commander," the communication officer said, her voice trembling, "we've lost contact with the rest of the fleet. The outer divisions are completely incapacitated. It's like we've walked into a trap." "A trap?" Darian's mind raced. "We've surrounded Earth. There's nowhere for them to run. What kind of trap are you talking about?" Before the officer could respond, the lights flickered again, and a new transmission blared through the comm system. This time, it wasn't from his fleet. It was a cold, emotionless voice, amplified through their communications. "Commander Darian, this is Earth's High Command. You've made your first mistake. We offer you a choice. Surrender now, or face total annihilation." Darian's heart skipped a beat. They were speaking directly to him, as though Earth had already calculated the outcome. There was no question, no room for negotiation. It was a declaration. Earth wasn't just resisting, they were in full control, guiding the course of the battle. The transmission continued, cold and precise. "This is your only warning. Surrender your fleet. We will allow you to leave our space unharmed. If you continue your assault, we will ensure your destruction." As the transmission ended, Darian stood frozen. For the first time since he had taken command of the Thalka fleet, he felt a deep, suffocating fear. This wasn't a species on the brink of extinction. This wasn't a fight for survival. This was a lesson. Earth had not just retaliated, they had already calculated everything. The moment the alien fleet attacked, they had turned Earth's power into something unmatchable, a force so terrifyingly efficient that it had crushed the invaders without a single unnecessary move. The galaxy had laughed at Earth, but now they were not laughing. The humans had shown them the true meaning of power. And for the first time, Darian realized Earth was not a world to conquer. It was a force to reckon with. "They thought it was mercy," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the hum of the dying ship. It wasn't, and with that, Earth had not only repelled the invaders, they had rewritten the rules of war. The alien fleet was in disarray. What had started as a mission of conquest, of absolute certainty, was now crumbling before Commander Darian's eyes, his flagship, once an unshakable symbol of the Thalka Empire, was now shaking with every blast from Earth's retaliation. The fleet's weapons, once powerful enough to obliterate entire worlds, now lay dormant, useless against the unprecedented force that Earth had unleashed. The once proud warships drifted aimlessly, their power cores dimming and flickering, their communication systems scrambled beyond repair. The once flawless coordination of the Thalka fleet now felt like a distant memory, their grand designs and strategies shattered in an instant. Darian's mind raced as he tried to process the unthinkable. Earth wasn't supposed to have this kind of power. They were a weak, primitive world. The Thalka Empire had studied them, mapped their defenses, and concluded that the invasion would be quick and painless. They had underestimated the humans, and now Earth had turned the tables, dismantling their fleet with surgical precision. "Commander, we've lost contact with the rest of the fleet," Zethar, his right-hand officer, said, his voice strained with disbelief. "Every division is incapacitated. We're isolated, completely alone." Darian didn't need to hear more. He could feel the fleet's collapse in the pit of his stomach. The reality of their situation was sinking in. Earth hadn't just fought back. They had predicted every move. They had waited, and when the time came, they executed their plan flawlessly. The Thalka Empire had walked into a trap, and they hadn't even realized it. "We've made a grave mistake," Darian whispered, his voice hollow. "What now, Commander?" Zethar asked, his voice heavy with fear. Darian's eyes flicked to the view screen, where Earth's fleet loomed just outside their reach. The human ships were smaller, sleeker, yet radiated a cold, deadly energy. They were unassuming, yet they carried a brutal precision that had already crippled the alien Armada. Earth had no need to display its power in overwhelming force. It wasn't about brute strength. It was about total control. "Is it over?" Zethar asked, almost pleading. "Is there any way to recover?" Darian stood in silence, his mind replaying the events in an endless loop. The initial attack had been a mistake. The humans hadn't just defended their planet, they had exposed the core of the alien fleet's arrogance. Every advantage the Thalka Empire had relied on had been neutralized in moments. Earth had known how to strike without overcommitting, how to incapacitate without annihilating. The human fleet wasn't just protecting its home, they were showing the galaxy how easily the mighty could fall. "Commander," Zethar's voice trailed off as he gazed at the view screen. The alien fleet was surrounded. There was nowhere left to run. Darian's eyes locked on the Earth fleet. They were not attacking anymore. Their ships hovered, silent and waiting. The humans had already won. Earth had dismantled the invaders with clinical precision, breaking apart their fleet piece by piece. But it wasn't just the humans' weapons that had won the day. It was their ability to control the situation. Earth had been silent in its preparation, watching the alien fleet approach, studying their every move, and then responding with a force that was as subtle as it was devastating. "They knew," Darian muttered to himself. "They knew we'd make the first move. They were waiting." The realization hit him like a blow. Earth hadn't just survived, they had orchestrated their survival with brilliance. The humans had not underestimated the Thalka Empire. They had studied them, learned their weaknesses, and played their hand perfectly. Darian had been so certain of victory, so confident in his fleet's superiority, that he had never considered the possibility that Earth might have been preparing for this moment long before the Thalka Armada arrived. "The humans didn't just fight back," Darian said, turning slowly to face Zethar. "They set us up, they outsmarted us, and now we're paying the price." Zethar stood in stunned silence, absorbing the weight of Darian's words. It wasn't just defeat they faced, it was the realization that their entire plan had been flawed from the beginning. The humans had known this would happen, and they had prepared for it. Another communication pinged across the bridge, this time from Earth's High Command. Darian took a deep breath before opening the transmission. The voice on the other end was calm, composed, and unbothered by the chaos unfolding in the alien. "Fleet, Commander Darien," the voice began, "this is Earth's High Command. Your forces have been incapacitated. We offer you one chance to surrender. If you refuse, we will ensure that no part of your fleet remains in our space." The voice was not threatening, but it carried the weight of finality. There was no more room for negotiation. Earth had already won, and Darien knew it. The empire he had once served had been destroyed not by force, but by human strategy. "We surrender," Darien said, his voice barely above a whisper. It was the hardest thing he had ever said, but it was the only choice left. As the words left his mouth, the realization hit him fully. The battle was over, and Earth had rewritten the rules of warfare. The once invincible alien armada was now just a shattered relic of their empire, their pride and arrogance stripped away by a planet they had considered beneath them. "We're finished," Darien whispered. "The galaxy will never be the same." And as the alien fleet began to pull back, Earth's ships remained poised, silent, and unmoving, proof that humanity, once thought weak, had become the most powerful force in the galaxy. They had not just survived, they had triumphed. Earth's victory is complete. The alien fleet, broken and humiliated, retreats as humanity asserts its dominance in the galaxy. Commander Darien's empire has fallen, and the galaxy will never look at Earth the same way again. The alien flagship, once an icon of unstoppable power, floated silently in space, its hull scarred and broken. The once dazzling lights of the ship flickered, barely able to stay on. The damage from Earth's last strike had shattered its systems, and the mighty vessel was now nothing more than a wounded animal, struggling to survive in the cold void of space. Commander Darien stood in the command center, his body slumped, his mind clouded with disbelief. He had led his fleet to Earth with pride and certainty. The humans, after all, were nothing more than a footnote in the galaxy. He had thought this would be a quick conquest, a mere stepping stone in his empire's continued expansion. But now, as he watched the last of his fleet fall apart, the crushing weight of his failure descended on him. "Sir, we've lost contact with the last of the outer fleet," Zethar reported, his voice shaking with disbelief. "Every division has been wiped out. We're completely isolated." Darien didn't respond immediately. He didn't need to. The message was clear. Earth had not just repelled the invasion, they had systematically dismantled the entire alien armada, piece by piece. And now, as the remnants of his forces drifted helplessly through space, he realized the full extent of Earth's power. "We've been outplayed," Zethar continued, his voice full of bitterness. "They knew what we would do. Every move we made, they were ready for it. They've been waiting." "They weren't just waiting," Darien said quietly, his voice heavy with the weight of his defeat. "They were planning. Everything was a calculated move. They let us think we had the upper hand until it was too late." The bridge fell silent. The truth hung in the air like a shroud, suffocating any remaining hope. The alien fleet, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, had been undone by Earth's patience and strategy. Darien's hand tightened into a fist as he stared at the view screen, the Earth fleet hovering nearby, silent and unmoving. They had not gloatingly destroyed the invaders, they had simply disabled them. Their actions were deliberate, controlled, and devastating. Every piece of their strategy had been executed flawlessly, and the alien fleet was powerless to stop it. The communication officer cleared his throat, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Sir, Earth is sending a final transmission. They're offering terms for our surrender." Darien's heart sank. He had no other choice. The alien fleet was shattered. Earth had shown them that their arrogance had been their undoing. He straightened himself and turned to face his officers, though the weight of his failure made his words feel hollow. "We've lost. There's no point in fighting anymore. "Open the channel," Darien ordered. A few moments later, the cold voice of Earth's High Command came through the speakers, calm and detached. "Commander Darien, we accept your surrender. You and your fleet will leave Earth space immediately. Any further aggression will be met with complete destruction. This is your final warning." Darien let out a slow breath, feeling the weight of his surrender settle over him like a leaden weight. He had been part of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries, and now, in a matter of hours, it had been reduced to nothing. Earth had not just fought back, they had crushed the very idea of alien supremacy, proving that a species could rise from nothing and take its place at the top. "Tell them we accept," Darien whispered, his voice breaking. He had no pride left, no strength. He had been humiliated, outwitted and defeated. As the transmission ended, Zethar's voice broke through the silence. "What happens now? What will the galaxy think of us?" Darien looked out at the Earth. Fleet, still hovering in the distance, its ships glinting under the light of distant stars. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. Earth had been underestimated for far too long, and now the entire galaxy knew the truth. Humanity was not to be trifled with. "They will remember Earth," Darien said quietly, his voice filled with a quiet respect he had never thought possible. "But they won't just remember Earth's power. They'll remember its patience, its strategy. Earth has not only survived, it has reshaped the galaxy. And we were the lesson." He looked back one last time at the damaged fleet, the remnants of an empire. There was nothing left for them now, nothing but the retreat into the dark expanse of space. "They thought it was mercy," Darien whispered, almost to himself. It wasn't. And with that, the alien fleet retreated, broken and humbled, as Earth's quiet dominance reigned over the galaxy, unchallenged.